Welcome to a realm where personal growth meets expansive spirituality and where we're not just scratching the surface. We're diving deep, widening our perspectives, and having a darn good time doing it. This is the Enlightened Podcast, and I am your host, Jen Hamilton. You'll enjoy an infusion of motivation, empowerment, and inspiration that will resonate in every aspect of your life. Expect captivating stories, heartfelt musings, and my own personal experiences. But that's not all. I'm bringing awe-inspiring individuals to the table, so get ready to meet some remarkable souls whose wisdom and stories will leave you spellbound. No topic is off limits here. Brace yourself for raw authenticity, unfiltered vulnerability, and yes, the occasional splash of explicit language. We're delving into the realms of the esoteric, mystical, and the woo-woo, unafraid to explore the extraordinary. So if you are ready to venture beyond the surface, to explore the depths of your soul, and to awaken the magic of life, if your heart says yes, then hit that play button and let the Enlightened Podcast guide you on this remarkable expedition. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Enlightened Podcast. I'm your host, Jen, and today's very special guest is Amayra Morales. Now, Amayra, in her past life, for over 10 years, she was busy climbing the corporate ladder until she hit her lowest health point, where she burned herself out and ended up in hospital. After she was released from hospital, Amayra went from specialist to specialist to try and find answers to the long list of symptoms she was experiencing following this burnout. With each specialist appointment, Amayra became increasingly disempowered as she didn't feel listened to. Not one specialist was able to explain the root cause of her symptoms. Rather, they kept prescribing her medication that yielded no results. She started to question every aspect of her life and realized that her time in the corporate world was over. She packed her bags and bought a one-way ticket to India to fulfill her dream of becoming a yoga teacher. During this time in India, she became very sick and through a series of fortunate events, ended up at an Ayurvedic clinic. For Amayra, this was the beginning of the end because through the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda, she was able to connect the dots of her symptoms and find good health again. Because of her first-hand experience with Ayurveda and realizing the power of this ancient medicine, Amayra went on to study Ayurveda. She now realizes that her health challenges were a gift because it's something she had to overcome to get where she is today so that she can share her message from a place of experience, love, and compassion. Amayra now understands that her dharma, which is her soul's mission, is to help women holistically optimize their health so they can glow from the inside out. She loves working with women and seeing the progress and transformation they can achieve through their hard work and commitment to change. Amayra is now based in Peru, and a big part of her healing journey has been plant medicine. Through plant medicine, she's been able to heal health issues, childhood traumas, and has tapped into self-love and acceptance. She works at an ayahuasca retreat center and sees firsthand the big impact plant medicine has on people. She understands that plant medicine is not for everyone and encourages only those who are ready. It was such an honor to have Amayra on the show to talk all things plant medicine. We were going to talk about Ayurveda. However, the conversation went straight to plant medicine and we circled around there for quite some time, sharing our heartfelt stories and also tapping into Amayra's wisdom that she's received from working with so much beautiful plant medicine in her time in Peru. And I know that you're absolutely going to love the chat that we got to have. So whether plant medicine is something that you're into or it's on your radar or perhaps it's something that you're curious about, then keep listening because this is the episode for you. But that's enough for me. So without further ado, let's dive in. Amayra, welcome to the Enlightened Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Hey Jen, I am doing amazing and I am so excited to be here because this has been like 12 months in the making, I think, for us. And
It is, yes.
yeah, and this is my first podcast with an Aussie host. So super excited.
Oh, that's so exciting. Yes, we were actually supposed to record for last season and we just didn't get around to doing it. And so finally, I got you as a guest. And I know that we're going to have some epic things to unfold in this conversation because you do some incredible things in the world. You're an Ayurveda health coach. Tell us what that is and tell us where in the world you are.
So I am currently in the Sacred Valley, Cusco, Peru. So Andes, cold kind of weather, no? So I really love it here. Yeah, I came here due to just visiting my family and reconnecting with my roots. And then I got stuck here during the pandemic, and I've been here ever since.
That's amazing. I mean, what a place to have to sort of bunker down. What was it that initially took you there?
So I was actually born here in Peru, and when terrorism broke out in the early 90s, my family and I migrated to Australia. And I had kind of a connection with Peru, but it wasn't so strong. So in August 2019, I decided that's it. I'm going to go to Peru, reconnect with my roots, really find out more about my culture, no? Because I had come to Peru like every 2, 3 years, but it was during like my annual leave. So like save up, 2, 3 weeks a year, and then I would have to go back, no? So this time I kind of left my life behind in Sydney, and I decided that's it. Time to reconnect with Peru, no?
Yeah.
So I came here, and then I came here with my mum. She went back to Australia, and she's like, "Oh, I'll see you in a few months." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll see you in a few months." No, so yeah, I've been here since.
Oh, and what a place to end up. And I mean, I don't blame you for wanting to escape the concrete jungle that is Sydney. Sorry, Sydney siders, if you're listening. But it must be like such a vastly different experience, culture, everything being back in Peru compared to Australia. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I kind of dance between two worlds. Now I dance because my grandmother, my uncles, my aunties are still here. So I've got my mum's side of the family here in the Sacred Valley. And then, so I'm doing like very traditional things with them, celebrating, traditional holidays with them. And then I dance with this other kind of spiritual world. So I feel like I'm dancing between two worlds at the moment, which I love, no? So I get my hit of my cultural kind of identity. And then I'm also, I don't know, going to cacao ceremonies, ecstatic dance, plant medicine. So yeah, I dance between two worlds.
I feel like you're my spirit animal. I feel like you're living the life that I would probably be living had I not been chosen the path of having children here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I can actually, envision for myself doing probably something very similar in maybe around 10 years time when my children have, grown up and moved out. I'd love to spend some time in Peru because it's just such a beautiful part of the world. It's not somewhere that I've been able to visit yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it almost feels like home. And I guess that's probably my connection with plant medicine as well, and
Mm-hmm.
working
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of, shamanic practices. Even though, we have that in Australia, there's a lot that we've adopted from Peru. Tell us a bit about your experience. So you're working in an ayahuasca a ceremony center, is that right?
Yeah, it's an ayahuasca retreat center. So we get
Retreat center.
guests.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get guests from kind of all over the world, mainly America, because it's obviously quite close now. But I don't know, there was a Japanese influencer that came, I don't know, that was invited to the center, I don't know, 6 months ago. And ever since then, we just get random, Japanese people who don't speak a word of Spanish, who don't speak a word of, English, and somehow they navigate through it.
That's amazing. That's incredible. How long have you been working with the beautiful grandmother Aya?
Okay, so the first time I drank Mother Aya was probably like 2010. And then every now and then I would come to Peru and, look for other people who were serving. But my real deep work has probably been here since 2019.
Yeah, amazing. And I'd love to hear about perhaps some of your experiences working with the medicine for those people that might be listening going, I've heard of this ayahuasca thing. What is it? What does it do? What experience do people have?
Yeah, so do you want me to go back to like back to like what it is? Because I mean,
Back, back, back. Yeah.
yeah, okay, perfect. I love it. So ayahuasca is, what they say, Mother Aya, no? So finds you rather than the other way around, no? So as I mentioned, I had my first experience in 2010, and I guess I didn't do it correctly because I went to look for her, no? And I didn't have the greatest experiences because the person serving was, in my mind, simply serving, and they weren't a maestro or maestra, no? So, because of my negative experiences that I had, I decided that ayahuasca was probably not for me, kind of thing, no? So when I kind of reconnected to my roots, I learned more about, ayahuasca. And then that's when I started kind of delving deeper into it, So ayahuasca is a brew. Basically, it's the ayahuasca vine mixed with the chacruna, So those, that's kind of done in mainly in the jungle, and then that's obviously served to people, and earlier on, obviously, we had the conversation of how kind of it affects people differently, So it's very difficult for me to say that your first experience would be X, Y, and Z, Because everybody is unique in that kind of sense.
It's so true, isn't it? We were talking about this before we hit the record button.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I've worked with this beautiful medicine, and it's actually interesting because I've always referred to it as the grandmother medicine, but I know it's
Mm-hmm.
also referred to as the mother medicine. Is there a like distinguishable difference between the two, or is it just what we've adopted in different cultures?
So here we call her abuelita, which is grandmother, So
Mm.
you would normally say it like I'm meeting with abuelita, Because she does have this feminine energy to her, and she is grandmotherly, Your grandmother can be really nurturing and get you to sit down and tell me what's going on, but she can also kick your ass, So it's not all just like, oh, the divine feminine you're engaging, because you sense her presence when you are with her,
Yes, and interestingly enough, I was writing in the book that I'm co-authoring. I was writing about this yesterday, referring to one of my experiences with her, and I literally wrote, like, we call it the grandmother because it's like she just gives you this like cosmic ass kicking and then gives you a big hug afterwards. And that's what my experience has been like. And
Mhm.
I truly feel as though until you actually experience the medicine, you don't know what that's like. The same as like there's this saying in my circle of friends that work with medicine, in the ceremony, if you have to die, die, because it can absolutely feel like a death experience. And this was something that in my first ceremony with Aya, I completely just resisted. I was so frightened because I was literally feeling like I was dying. And the biggest thing for me at the time was I don't want to leave my children. I can't leave my children behind. And what was happening was essentially, the version of myself that I had created, that iteration, that season that I was in, that version of my ego had to dissolve, had to die in order to
Mhm.
have a completely transformational rebirthing experience. And not everyone has that as well. Like
Mhm.
let's talk about what psychedelics are. Like why are generally people drawn to psychedelics? What does psychedelic even mean?
Yeah, I guess for me, like I hadn't done anything as big as ayahuasca. I think that's like kind of the biggest I had done. But to me, like I don't know, I haven't done many psychedelics before ayahuasca. But for me, ayahuasca really helped me like heal my heart, because it is the most kind of beautiful experience one can have, And it's like you said, it's not once you're sitting in there that you actually realize it, Because yeah, she's tough, she's direct, there's no way from hiding from her, but she also cracks you open, And of course, you have to be ready for her, You have to be ready to open your heart, you have to be ready to surrender, and you have to be ready to kind of face that mirror that she holds in front of you, and through kind of the nearly 40 ceremonies that I have done, I've seen women really start to heal from kind of sexual abuse, I've seen people kind of start new projects. I've seen women being liberated from this baggage that they're carrying for years. I mean, in one ceremony, I gave birth to something that felt like an energetic surgery. It took 3 people to come over to me to kind of calm me down. But since then, for example, like my moon cycle has been like cruisy. It's a bit like, oh, she's here. As opposed to like, oh my God, it's so unpleasant. Another example is my ex-boyfriend who experienced, heart surgery. He felt like his heart was kind of opening and he was receiving like a new heart, So yeah, there's really like amazing experiences, very mind-blowing kind of stuff.
Oh, it's incredible. And that's the thing. You go into it with an intention.
Hmm.
And I always say that intention is like the algorithm for life,
Hmm.
because you go into it with, holding an intention, and in some way, shape, or form, that's what you're going to receive. It might not be exactly what you envisioned it to be,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
when you hold that intention, this, like, that's how the medicine starts to work with you. And I've always found, through I think it's 5 ceremonies that I've done, is that as soon as I have decided, or that I felt the call from her that I'm ready to sit again, once I know that I've completely integrated from the previous experience, making sure it's not the desire to bypass something, that I'm truly ready to receive what she has to show me again,
Hmm.
I will get the email that comes out that says, there's an upcoming ceremony that's available to attend. And every time, every time.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, I feel her, I feel the presence, I'll hear it calling the same way as I hear other medicines calling as well. And I
Hmm.
think when you work with such reverence with medicine, instead of going to it, as you were saying, it comes to you, it finds
Hmm.
you. And I think that's such a beautiful way of looking at it, because so often people chase it, whether it's for the high or whether it's for, the psychedelic experience, in probably almost like a party scene where the walls are moving and things are, changing everywhere. And to me, I couldn't think of anything worse than being in a party scene and working with medicine. And I met someone recently, and we were talking about mushroom journeys,
Hmm.
and he was like, "So you do it in a ceremony?" And I was like, "You don't do it in a ceremony?" And he's like, "No, we have it with like beers and like at a party." And I was like, "Oh, oh God, oh no, no." I was really just um worried for the medicine more than anything. And having to sort of separate my experience and my judgments for, his experience as well, whilst also navigating how to have a conversation about how it's, to be revered as a master teacher plant. So yeah, it's really interesting, because there's a lot of people that know, especially mushrooms or, there's other psychedelics out there as well, but mushrooms is probably the main one that people work with in that party scene. And
Hmm.
I've
Hmm.
had the experience working with mushrooms before where it has put me on my ass. Like, mushrooms, I was always taught that mushrooms are very cheeky. And I didn't
Hmm.
realize that until I did, because they
Hmm.
are the way they show you what you need to see. And then, like, it's almost like they bring you full circle into a realization or an awakening that you're like, how did I not see that before? Like, they are so intelligent.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here in Peru, when people are sitting with mushrooms, they call them niños sagrados, which is sacred children. Because it does have this kind of childish kind of feeling towards it as well. No, and I remember when I did it in Bali for the first time, I was laughing for 5 hours straight. No, and I haven't had it since then. But I am curious to do it here. No, but yeah, here they refer it to as sacred children.
I love that so much. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know that. That's amazing. Yeah, this is why I need to be in Peru with you, having these experiences
Yeah,
to
yeah,
learn
yeah, yeah.
more. One of the things that I was taught by a beautiful medicine man that I used to know, he's overseas. One of the things he taught me, he used to say to me, "Jen, the medicine is us from the future calling us home."
Mhm.
And it's almost like they were like, "Oh, we're going to go hide in the plants and they'll never find us here. Like, let's hide in the cactus, let's hide in the vines, let's hide in the ground. And,
Yeah.
the people that are meant to find us will find us, but no one else will find
Mhm.
us." And every time I work with any sort of medicine, I come back to that, and I'm reminded that there is a part of ourselves in the plants, and then the plants just reflect back to us what it is that we need to know
Mhm.
on this journey of remembrance as a human being, as the vessel for the soul. And that it just brings me right home, because every time I work with any sort of medicine, it's that sense of homecoming. It's that sense of
Mhm.
just deep remembrance of who I am beyond just the meat suit, beyond just living in this 3D world where I have to exist in systems. I remember in my first grandmother's ceremony, it was like I saw myself stand up and rise and like stretch up my arms over my head. And I was like, oh, I'm awake. Where have I been?
Yeah.
And that was my experience. Have you had a sort of a similar thing with I guess that's what we call an awakening, isn't it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So my first couple of experiences, I wouldn't say that they were anything like amazing, But yeah, like from 2019, I've had like amazing experiences where it's even like gone deep into like what I can do with my business. Like never in my wildest dreams did I think that was possible, but I was at that point where I was like, I think I'm ready to give up this coaching thing. I don't know if it's for me. I don't know if I'm cut up for it, no, whatever. But then it kind of gave me like a snapshot of what I should be doing, And now this is why I kind of moved into more of skincare, which is something that I'm really passionate about, Something that I was doing before wasn't lighting my soul on fire. I was just doing it because. And so she was like, why are you even doing it? No, if it's not lighting your soul on fire, why on earth would you be doing it? So something for me that was an awakening for me in that sense, But also for me, like tapping into my childhood, Um, and I actually posted something about this on my Facebook recently because I was crying like in one of the ceremonies, just crying. And it got to a stage where it was like really boring as well. I'm like, why am I crying so much? I couldn't, and there were no visions, no fractals, nothing. It was just tears, tears and yawning for, I don't know, 4 hours. It gets pretty boring, But finally, like the last vision that I got was, well, the only one that I got that evening was of a little girl, so little Amayra, telling me, like, you need to like unleash me. You need to like just unleash so I can help you heal, And I remember that evening I went straight to my room, I put on some music and I just danced, So I needed to get into, nurture that inner child within me as well, so she can come out, so she can unleash.
How special.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful, isn't it? Because that's the thing. Sometimes you're not going to have this crazy profound experience. Like I've had times where I've literally left the yurt and I've gone out onto Mother Earth outside and I've looked up at the moon, I've looked up at the stars, and I have begged them to make it stop because it is relentless. It is just like
Yeah.
lesson after lesson after lesson after, like awakening after awakening after awakening. I'm just like, please, no more. Please make it stop. And like, well, one of the supporters come out and they look at me and I'm like, no, I'm fine. I just just please turn it off, make it go away. And there was one particular night I was actually really having a hard time in the yurt. It was relentless. And what had happened is I kind of just gathered myself for a moment and I said to myself, it's all going to be over when the sun rises. Like when the sun rises, we're done. So just be in the experience because it is such a short time and the sun always rises. And for those watching the video, you'll see this, but if you can't, I'll tell you the audio. So there's a part of my tattoo of the sun rising. And that is my reminder that the sun always rises, that no matter how dark the experience is or whatever it is that I'm going through, the sun always rises the next morning. And when the sun's risen, we're done. We're finished. We can get up and go and have some breakfast and talk about our experience and integrate it all and then move on with life in whatever way that looks like then. And I think it's so important. Like I got that tattooed on me to remind me not only of those experiences working with the medicine, but also, like I said, that, this too shall pass, whatever darkness that we're going through will always pass. And, I've had sun ceremonies where, it's connected me to my heart. I think it was my third ceremony. And I just remember I had the first cup and it worked so quickly for me. And it was like I was a little kid that had lost its blankie and been reunited with it, and that was my heart. And I just had this most beautiful experience of just connection with myself and my beautiful heart, and it was like we just danced together through the cosmos for the whole journey. And the maestro came round and said, "Would you like to have a second cup?" And I was like, "No, I'm so good right here where I am. I don't want to change this experience that I have. I don't want to go deeper into it. I don't want to come out of this space that I'm in. I just want to hang out here with my heart." And it was so beautiful. There was no purging. There was no, I had the yawns. I yawn a lot through ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's this deep wake up. I feel like when I hold the intention of wanting to go and work with medicine, it's because, okay, I've been humaning for so long. I need some clarity around something. And I've had similar to you, Myra, where my business has shown me things to
Mm-hmm.
bring forward. There's been different, relationships that I've
Mm-hmm.
been able to see them for what they are. When I say see, like I'm talking like with my first eye in the middle of my head here.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I have seen my mum and my connection with my mum and her as a human and her from a soul level. And then I also got to experience that with my father as well. And so there was like a lot of deep healing to be done to really sort of come out of that child parent dynamic where I held a lot of, I guess, pain and trauma around, childhood experiences, but then was actually able to see them for their humanness and for them on a soul level, and was actually kind of able to meet them there and go, well, I forgive you. And I didn't realize, but I'm watching you grow up as well, and you did what you did with what you had and what you knew to the best
Mm-hmm.
of your ability at all times. There was no point in my life where I've ever been unloved, but the
Mm-hmm.
stories that that we make up along the way, or the experiences that we have that lead us to perhaps feeling abandoned or perhaps feeling powerless in certain situations, they get created along the way. And so one of the beautiful parts of my journeys have been able to really sort of see what that is and heal that from the inside. And for me, that's when the purging happens. So the
Mm-hmm.
purging is like, for me, it's like I'm a sponge just being wrung out, and it's just like it's just head in the bucket, bringing it all through. And as you know, in ceremony, we celebrate purging. Purging is a gift, a beautiful gift to be able to get that out.
Yeah,
And
if
then,
you're worried, like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, you're like, by the end of the ceremony, you've done so many things
oh yeah,
there that you never had, would imagine doing in front of other people. So
yeah,
yeah,
you cannot give any less shits if you tried, to be honest.
yeah,
Like the first time I slept in my own vomit, and that was the least of my worries.
yeah. God, there's been so many times where I've knocked my bucket over, like just trying to find my shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I've knocked it over, no? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's really interesting. So really, plant medicine really teaches us that the key kind of to our future is what you're saying, no? Is understanding our past, no? Our
Yeah.
past traumas, our childhood, our experiences, our decisions, like you said, no, our parents' childhoods and past relationships. So not to change, but to simply understand. So, we can move on and be a lot clearer, no? So really plant medicine helps us get to the bottom of the infinite, no? I never thought that I would have so much healing to do with my parents. But one of the things she told me is like, find out about your parents' childhood, no? So off I went. I found out about their childhood, separately. And then on another ceremony, I was like, okay, I'm going to really focus. No? And she was showing me like just photographic images of them as children. No? So I understood them on a whole different level. No? Now I have my anger or my frustration with them is kind of not there so much, but it's more like compassion and understanding for, they were kind of like, children in adult suits trying to, parent me and navigate through their own traumas, through their own pain. They left Peru when it was, in a really difficult stage. So they were carrying their traumas with them. So my mum's anxiety I was carrying that as well. No? So I was understanding all of that. No? So it's been like a beautiful, beautiful journey for me.
And that's the thing, like that's our ancestral trauma that we bring through. You know, it's said that we have 7 generations of DNA within our
Mm-hmm.
system. So we are
Mm-hmm.
carrying a lot of stuff in there that's not even ours. And
Mm-hmm.
it's when, like you said, like we go in to be able to hold compassion and understand
Mm-hmm.
things. And this is where like major healing can be done for people. You know, I've
Mm-hmm.
heard of people, you know, working through why they hold addiction,
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, why they like these journeys can just unlock so much within them that they can't actually access from that conscious level, or even going subconscious through
Mm-hmm.
hypnosis as well. Like we can only get so far essentially with hypnotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the plants just provide an even greater version of that, because they are just the most incredible gift from the earth.
Yeah. And, and I guess, if there's some people listening to this, is it so like, but is it that far fetched that the earth would not provide medicines to heal us? Like, I don't know, everything is healing, but I
Mm.
guess ayahuasca is just next level healing.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say to someone that's been curious about working with grandmother ayahuasca and wants to know, I guess, sort of, you know, where to go, what to do? As always, like with most things, there's probably fear underneath it as well. I know that I've
Mm-hmm.
spoken about my experience to a lot of people, and they're like, "Oh, I could never do that, especially for a whole night," you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always like my experience is not always going to reflect their experience. What would you
Mm-hmm.
say to anyone that's, you know, starting to get curious about working with her?
Yeah, I guess, where does the curiosity come from and what do you want to heal? No, because I know of people who will probably just want to come to Peru to put it on the Instagram to get more likes, more comments, more followers, no? Or there's people who really want to do the work and say, like, I don't know why I do these things. I don't know why the way that I am, So if you're ready to do the second part, absolutely, but be prepared, and fear is normal. Even me, who's done quite a few ceremonies, I still get that butterflies in the stomach because my intention might be this, but she's going to divert me like completely somewhere else, which may not make sense in the ceremony. You're like, why is she taking me there? And then she kind of like unravels and stuff. So if you are curious, obviously, find a good maestro or retreat center, with good reputation, because as you know, Jen, like there are some dodgy things happening in the plant medicine world as well, no? So
Mm.
if you are just, because I can go down to San Pedro Market in Cusco right now, buy a bottle of ayahuasca, tell my friends to come over, and it's like coming over for a tea, no? And there is, there's a dark side of plant medicine as well, no? So my advice is go and find good maestros or recommendations of other people who've done it and other retreat centers. And yeah, so that's like my number one, obviously, trust and surrender to the medicine as well, because for people who are kind of in their heads and like to control things, it's very difficult, and they may not see anything in the first ceremony. They may not feel anything, because the head is going a little bit, it's taking over. And she kind of says to you, okay, maybe you're not ready to see the things that I'm about to show you, because the thing is, you can't unsee things. That's the
Ain't
thing,
that the
right?
truth?
There are some things that you're just like, fuck, I wish I could like reverse somehow and not see that, so you have to be prepared to really surrender to the unknown and whatever else is going to come up.
Yeah, and one of the biggest pieces for me is integration process, because I feel that
Mm,
um that can be quite lacking for some people as well, especially if, you know, the place that they go and sit with the medicine doesn't offer ongoing or some sort of integration
mm-hmm,
support.
mm-hmm,
Because the thing is, like, you've opened yourself up to seeing so much, feeling so much, healing so much. That needs to come back with you and be able to you need to be able to move forwards essentially in your life, bringing that back with you. And especially if you've had, you know, quite a almost traumatic experience, in
mm-hmm,
the way that, you know, it can just open you wide up to see things that you can't unsee, like you were saying. You
mm-hmm,
have to be able to bring that back into your human existence and work with it, and continue either the healing journey or receive counseling or support or something around how to bridge all that together. So I think integration is such a big part of the
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Yeah, because I think, yeah, most certainly, you can sit in ceremonies, and this is the thing as well. You're bypassing, by entering another ceremony. You're like, okay, maybe like that was too intense. I'm going to do Wachuma now. I'm going to sit with San Pedro. No, okay, now there's a ceremony with the, and Brazilian tribe. So you're constantly bypassing, and thinking that every ceremony is going to bring you closer to what. No? So for me, like 2020, 21, 22 were years charged with full medicine. This year, for some reason, I've stepped back from it. I kind of don't feel like I need it so much. I'm quite happy, doing my meditation, moving my body, like shamanic shaking, doing other practices have taken over my desire to hit my next ayahuasca ceremony, hit my next wachuma, do a rapé, do da, 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 da. So for me, it's like, yeah, coming down to more like peace and ease,
I love that. I love that, because that's the thing. There can be a lot of ego in this. There can be a lot of, well, I have to do a certain number of ceremonies, or such and such did this, or I didn't get what I wanted from that, and I just want the answers to this, so I've got to keep going back to try and find it. And it can be abused. Like, it blows my mind that obviously we can just buy it from the markets. Like, it doesn't surprise me, because essentially the medicine is just there for all, and humans also have free will, so they can fuck this up along the way as well, so it doesn't surprise me. And I actually know of some people in Australia that I would never recommend to sit with, because I truly don't feel they hold the integrity that they need to, or have done the training that is involved to be able to serve this medicine and hold space for others. Because, not that it's a common thing, but people have died in ceremonies.
Yeah,
People have
and I guess
literally
that's what
continued to
gets
journey.
reported. That's what gets
Yes.
reported in the news, no? And then my mum would ring me and say, "Oh my God, there's been a report of a French guy who's died in Peru." I'm like, "Yeah, no." So, and I think a huge thing about this is doing the pre-dieta. No, it's
Mm.
super important. Like, I can't go and have a burger and a beer and then sit in ceremony tomorrow. Like, that doesn't make sense, no? And yeah, you have like the pre-dieta for me is super super important in all of this, no? So, and
Can you
some
explain Sorry, can you explain what dieta is? So for those listening and like, what's this dieta thing? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the whole point of going into ceremony is to kind of cleanse the body beforehand as well, no? So some maestros are stricter than others. Like the ones that I do is like 2 weeks beforehand, like no sex, no like stimulants, no spicy food, very little salt, very little sugar, definitely no alcohol, no other drugs, prescription medications down, no supplements. So really, and it's a really good time for you to sit in silence, really mindful of the energetic of people also around that you surround yourself with. No? So before I sit in ceremony, normally for 2 weeks, I kind of isolate myself. I might do shopping for the whole week and really follow those guidelines. Because the idea is to meet with Aya in like a cleansed mind, body, and soul.
Yes, yes, I love that. One of the things that I've always been taught as well is no soy products as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a thing over there, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess it depends. So it depends what the maestro or maestra is also dieting before
Mm.
before the ceremonies. No? So, for example, the no soy, maybe because of the person that is serving medicine with you, they have some intolerances. No, usually here it's just those stimulants. No red meat and all of that kind of stuff. You can have fish, but not fish from. Well, my maestro says no fish from the ocean, but fish from the river, because fish from the ocean contains too much salt, and salt can actually not be great for this particular ceremony. But I mean, there are people in the jungle also who sit with what they call a dieta, which is like maybe 10 days minimum up to 3 months, where they are guided by a maestro and they're just having a particular plant. So they're drinking Bobinsana, for example, is a popular one in the jungle. So you just go isolate yourself, you're drinking that plant. And the idea is to get the energy of that particular plant, and also do ayahuasca ceremonies throughout that time as well.
Yes, I find it so important, and you don't realize it until you get into the ceremony, just how
Mhm,
important it is to be clean in your body.
mhm,
You
mhm,
don't realize, because it's going to, for me personally, it helps the medicine to drop in quicker. But
mhm,
if my body is like full of chemicals or full of like something that it needs to process, then it's got to kind of get through those layers first. But if I'm open and
mhm,
clean and pure, and I've been eating, so clean, and like the no salts and all that kind of stuff, then I find that I'm more open to
mhm,
receiving the depths of what the medicine has to show me. And yeah, I do the 2 weeks as well. And it's interesting because the people that I've worked with before, they're like, oh, a couple of days out, we kind of started, I think it's a bit more, lax where I am, but it's, yeah, for me personally, like having worked with, medicine in a number of ceremonies, and just sort of knowing that, okay, well, this is my journey as well. What is it that I really
mhm.
want to receive from this? And it's a beautiful way of like just being with yourself as well, and connecting with the food that you're eating, being really, really
Mhm.
mindful when it comes to what you're putting in your body anyway, which we should be doing that anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
um,
think one of the biggest changes for me was I haven't had alcohol for a year.
mm,
So last time I had it was the 29th of December last year, and before that it was 2 years. No,
yeah.
it's something that my body just, I don't know, it doesn't need. I don't drink coffee, so all these kind of stimulants that I used to have once upon a time, my body just, even cacao, like cacao doesn't like, it doesn't call me anymore. No, but definitely like some foods that I've just gone like, this is just not my cup of tea anymore. No.
Yes, after my first ceremony a few years ago, that was what really supported my transition into veganism. So
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
was plant-based leading into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, when I felt that deep connection to the earth, to animals, to life itself, that is kind of what like landed the plane for me, and just that connection to everything, and could not bear the thought of putting a dead animal in my body, or using, animal byproducts in like makeup or anything like that. And that's what launched me essentially into veganism. And one of my beautiful soul sisters um is a vegan activist, or was,
Mm-hmm.
she was more an activist, and she's not so much anymore. And so she was just so supportive and just full of material so that I could educate myself on what that was. And like, it's exactly the same. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You can try, and that's what we call cognitive dissonance. Um, but yeah, for me, it was about that, just, yeah, the connection to the earth, the connection to the animals, and just what, then really just being mindful of what I was putting into my body and the effect that it was
Mm-hmm.
having on me. And I think that's a beautiful part of like leading into ceremonies, that you get to just feel yourself and connect with yourself on such a different level.
Yeah, and actually, interestingly, I this just came to mind. I had one ceremony where, like, I just saw this, like, it was like a Hindu temple or something, no? And she was saying, no, we go and adorn all these temples around the world, no, but this is the temple, this is the vessel that you're in, no. And she showed me a clear vision of myself, like in a temple, like almost like a statue, and there were people coming, to adorn, and I was also putting like flowers on my hair and stuff. So for me, it's like part of this, like, ayurveda journey also, like, and plant medicine for me is just like a beautiful combination of both, no, of really nourishing the body and really respecting your temple, no? And even, like, interestingly enough, of relationships that I, come into contact with now, no? So it's like that sexual attraction may be there, but you're so connected to your body now. Like Amayra 10 years ago, I would have jumped into bed with like a guy straight away, no? But now it's like, no, like I need to feel into this. I'm very careful of who I share my energy with now. So not only is it the alcohol, the stimulants, and the other food, but it's energetic as well.
Yes, that is so true, isn't it? Because when you see yourself perhaps in
Mm-hmm.
ceremony, when you
Mm-hmm.
connect with yourself and you realize just how precious you are,
Mm-hmm.
what it took to get here to this human experience, and just what a mission you're on in whatever capacity that is for you, you
Mm-hmm.
just realize how sacred your being is.
Mm-hmm.
Because through sexual connection, we're
Mhm.
taking on board the other person's energy, not only of them, but all of the sexual partners that they've had as well. And when we realize what they're perhaps carrying energetically, and then we're like, do we want to have that enter ourselves and then, have that quantum entanglement essentially
Mhm.
with them, you start to realize, hang on a second, casual sex or, random hookups or, non-sacred sexuality is really not for me. And
Mhm.
that's been such a big part of my journey as well.
Yeah, and even like right now, like maybe I'm not like 100% focused on finding a guy, but I don't want to be in situationships, no? So like as soon as I meet somebody and there's nothing there, it's like cut, no? Whereas before I would have just played along with it and see what happens. Let's surrender, let's flow. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not into flowing anymore. Like I know exactly what I want. And this is kind of what she's sharpened my focus with as well, no? And I remember like I went to a women's circle once and we were working with yoni eggs, no?
Hmm.
And like clearing that kind of womb space, no? And then I said to myself, I wonder, like in my next ceremony, if I was to insert a yoni egg, what would happen? And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. So I asked the maestra and I said, hey, like, do you think she was like, first of all, I'm from the Shipibo tribe. I have no idea what you're telling me. You're putting things up your yoni. I don't know. You do you kind of thing, right? So I said, no, I'm going to do it. No. And that day was really about clearing and working with the yoni, So uh, it was powerful. It was
Mhm.
probably one of the most powerful ceremonies I had because my intention was definitely to go and clear that space, and yeah, like you're talking, the sacredness of it. And yeah, since then I've been like super careful of who I let in my life.
That's incredible. Did you keep the egg in for the whole ceremony?
Yeah, the whole ceremony.
Amazing. Oh, that's given me a great idea.
Yay!
I have a beautiful carnelian yoni egg,
Mhm. Mhm.
and the heart ceremony that I did that I was talking about before, on the altar, what I'd taken with me was a carnelian heart crystal in the shape
Mhm.
of a heart. And so
Mhm.
that was sitting on the altar for the whole of the ceremony. And it's one of the ones that sits on my altar at home when I work with Hape. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, the carnelian is a beautiful, connection to me. And I have a yoni egg. So thank you for that. I didn't even not even think of that. But it's so true, isn't it? And I want to circle back to what we're talking about, intention, because you mentioned, that you were working obviously with the intention to clear the energy of your yoni. How specific should people be when it comes to their intention when working with medicine?
100%, and I think something else that was interesting that you brought up is that we've lost this kind of uh, rituals and ceremonies, like people just go on and do like this, that, no? So everything in life is a ritual, like you're dancing, you're moving your body, your cup of coffee, your lunch, your dinner, your morning routine, no? So for me, that is super important, no? And every morning when I, have my morning drink, I put an intention for the day,
Yeah.
when I have my lunch, I put my intention. So we've kind of lost that essence of intentions, and I know we're living in very chaotic kind of crazy lives as well, no? But intention in life, intention during plant medicine, super important, no?
It really is. And intention is everything to me as
Mm-hmm.
well. And it's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful when you can just start to incorporate that. For me, there's an intention piece when I'm working with cacao every day.
Mm-hmm.
And, you get to be really intentional if you're, having open communication with someone as well, holding the intention that you speak your truth and that you communicate in a way that's going to be supportive. And I think it's so important when working with any medicine that we hold the intention, because then, the plants are a consciousness. We're
Mm-hmm.
literally working with another consciousness. And so we have to essentially communicate what it is that we want to receive from each other, and going into it, seeing it as, I see the plants as an ally. It's going
Mm-hmm.
in and it's having a partnership and connection. How can I be supported by the plants, but then also asking the questions like, how can I then show up for the plants themselves? Like, how can I be a voice for the plants and a representative of this beautiful medicine? And for me, it's around encouraging people, to work with it in a very, first of all, intentional way, but a
Mm-hmm.
very, a very reverent way as well. and to work with people that serve it with integrity. Gosh, that's such a big one for me, because
Mm.
that doesn't always happen, which we sort of touched on before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's interesting. This journey is helping me live more with intention. Before you're just rushing out the door, you're getting the bus, you're going to work. Your life has very little intention. My intention maybe 10 years ago was to go out, get blind drunk, pick up a guy, and that's it. No? Very different intention now, no? Where I'm like sacred, no? So it's very different lifestyle now. But I recommend your listeners, to live life with a little bit more of intention in general, no? Whether you're doing plant medicine or not.
Yes, yes. I think you and I have lived quite parallel lives. I was the same those years ago as well. It was a numbers game. It was complete external validation. It was all of the things. But now when you start to work with intention and you work with the sacredness of your body, like you were saying, life is a ceremony. If life is a ceremony, our bodies are the altar. you know Everything is a ceremony, and it can be a ceremony. We need to invite in just dance and joy and reverence for all of that. And I think it's such a beautiful space to exist from.
Yeah, and I guess this is kind of some work that I've done, with my mother as well. Like, why didn't she teach me about the sacredness of my body? Like, why didn't she teach me like that? My cycle was so sacred. Like, why? Now, and ayahuasca was almost like rolling her eyes, like,
Yeah.
look, you can do all the whys until the cows come home, but really, it's time for you now. So all that shit stops with you, kind of thing. So if you ever decide to have a child, then these are the things that you're going to be teaching them. So yeah, super interesting. There was so much blame with my mother of like, why didn't she? And now it's like, okay, cool. She herself didn't know, all these things. So I can't expect her to have taught me all these things of stuff that she didn't know herself.
Yes, that's one of the things I was actually writing about yesterday when I was putting together this chapter for the book. It was really sort of understanding that, what I was holding essentially against my mother for so long for not teaching me about these things. And one of the things I was writing about is like, I was never handed a guidebook or sat down and be like, this is what pleasure is. This is how to follow your desires. This is what sacred sexuality is. That didn't exist. That wasn't a thing. Not only was it not a thing, but my mother never experienced it, to sit down and be like, okay, let's have a chat about this. Like, this is what pleasure is. This is where you'll know that you're abandoning yourself to seek validation or make someone else happy. All of these different things, it just wasn't alive for her. And so for me, it's part of my lesson in this life is to learn those things, not only to experience it for myself, but also to to teach my daughter, teach my son a lot of these things as well, but to also support other women that are coming to these realizations and having these awakenings as well.
100%. Yeah. And yeah. So and something else that I had to work with Mother Aya was the sisterhood wound that I had. So like maybe 10 years ago, this conversation would have never happened because I probably would have seen you as competition. So this would have never happened. So slowly, because she does have that feminine energy, I am tapping more into, my feminine essence, with creating stuff for my business, just being more feminine, more flowy, and as well as healing that sisterhood wound that I don't know why I even had it, because I was so into my masculine in the corporate world that my masculine was so activated that I thought feminine was wearing a skirt and putting on lipstick, and that kind of ends there, And going to women's circles, holding space for women, being held by women. Like 10 years ago, I would have been that like, wow, that's so weak. Why am I crying in front of a woman? Kind of thing. But now I'm like, like ecstatic dance at, cacao ceremonies or women's circles, So it's beautiful, interesting, even for me to shift out of that and be like, wow, Amayra, like this would have never happened 10 years ago. So that's something else beautiful that I've noticed within myself.
Yes, it does that too. It has that power. It opens you up to connection. And when you connect with yourself and connect with life and just have these realizations of why you're here, and also why other people are here living out their purpose and their lessons and their experiences, you soften, don't you? And that is the feminine. The feminine is to soften and to open. And that's been such a big part of my journey as well. I definitely held a big sister wound. There was definitely competition over collaboration. There was, just disconnect, from other women, or, because I didn't value myself so deeply. I didn't love myself. I saw everyone else as a threat, or,
Mhm.
there was like two of us going after the guy kind of thing. It was a competition. Oh gosh, I
Mhm.
could tell a story about that. Yeah, it happened one night at a bar. It like
Mhm.
literally, this guy like literally told me that he would either take me or another girl home, and it's almost like I had to prove myself. I mean, I
Yeah.
won, and so I was happy with myself at the time. But I had a absolute nightmare of an experience, and I remember walking home with my shoes in my hand afterwards, looking up at the moon, going, "What the fuck? I need to sort my life out. This is not
Yeah.
okay. I don't
Yeah.
want to feel like this anymore. Like, what the fuck have I done? What am I doing to
Mhm.
myself?" And
Mhm.
I was very sleepy at that time. That was well before I started working with any sort of medicine, but it
Mhm.
really just like, and this is the thing, you have to go through these experiences
Mm.
in life because this is
Mhm.
part of the journey. And I mean, it makes for really cool stories, but you have to go through this to really start to unravel within yourself what it is that needs healing through, and where are the things that just need to shift, that perhaps that just that 1 degree, so that you come into alignment with what it is that you do want to experience and what you are here for
Mm.
in this beautiful human life.
Yeah, fascinating. This is such an interesting topic, no? So that, like I'm saying, that I would have never untapped if I hadn't done plant medicine. I probably would have still been in Australia, like, trying to compete with other women, or, do roles that, are way above my skill set, and whatever it is, So it definitely has softened me, even when my mum was here from Australia in August, and I noticed changes within myself, like the old version of Amayra would have argued with her about something, but now it's like, okay, that's cool that you think that, it's amazing. No, that's your opinion. That's cool. Definitely not something that I agree with. But yeah, the old one would have been like, arch my back like a cat and being like, ah, no. But
Yeah.
now it's like, wow, I've softened. Like I've really, really softened with her. So super interesting.
I'm exactly the same with my mum, and it's been like my mum and I have been on such an incredible journey together.
Yeah.
And it's been, and I think because my first grandmother ceremony was really unraveling a lot of the wounds that I had held with her, and I speak about this in the book that I co-authored, and I'm sure I've spoken about on other podcasts before, but it was just that opportunity to just unravel and just come from such a deep place of love and
Mm.
acceptance for who she is. And
Mm-hmm.
it changes relationships, it changes dynamics, when you can just soften and
Mm-hmm.
just respect someone else, from such a loving place, and forgive them and forgive yourself. Like it is so beautiful. Honestly, to me, it is worth the night with my head in the bucket to, have that profound experience on the other side.
Absolutely. And when in the retreat center that I work in, this every now and then you get a mum and daughter or dad
Mm.
and son. And I look at them, and last time this mother and daughter came, Persian, and she was saying to me, like, I said to her at the end, I was like, I'm super grateful that you're here, because this is one thing that I would love to do with my mum. Like, my mum is, super anxious, this kind of scares her because she thinks this is drugs or whatever. No? And she said, "Oh, that wasn't my idea. That was my mum's idea." So I'm like, "Your mum is like way ahead." Like, that's amazing, that her mum took the initiative to say to her, like, "Hey, daughter, like, let's go to Peru and sit in like ceremony." So yeah, so that's one of my like things in my bucket list, to get my mother to sit in ceremony with me,
Beautiful.
whether it's Wachuma or
Yeah.
ayahuasca.
I was literally having the conversation with my mum a couple of days ago, because I was sharing with her what some of the things that I was writing in the book, and just letting her know that, she was such a big part of that, and I was going to write about that. And then we got sort of talking about plant medicine journeys, and like I personally don't think it's for her, and we discussed it, and she's like, I don't think I could do it because it is so relentless. Her health is not the best, and there's a lot there for her. So if it started unpacking, who knows what that could look like for her. And I
Mm-hmm.
completely respect that decision for her. And there's a part of me that's very curious,
Mm-hmm.
as to what that could be like for her. But I also feel like I've had conversations with people that are like, hands down, plant medicine is not for me. I'm not going there. And good, because I would never,
Mm-hmm.
ever try to convince someone that this was for them. And one of the things, I don't know if this is true for you, Amayra, but as a Virgo, as my sun sign, the element is earth. And I
Mhm.
find that I receive so much magic from the gifts of the earth. Whereas someone, for example, who might be a water sign might find like that they wake up their connection to the ocean or ice baths, or perhaps air is breath work. The way that they have their, perhaps awakening or whatever that looks like for them. Tell me about that. Is that true for you? I'm just kind of testing this theory here.
So I'm Cancer, so I believe
Water,
that's a water
water sign.
sign,
Yeah.
and I am very drawn to water.
Yeah.
So like one of the things, for example, that I miss about Sydney is the beach.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
my family ever tried to take me to the beaches in Peru, and I'm sorry to tell you, like I grew up in Australia. I'm really not that impressed by the beaches here, so you really have to impress me now. But I do like go up to like a river close to my house, and I do. I'm very connected with the water. But I go more towards like the Ayurvedic dosha. So for me, I'm the air dosha in Ayurveda, and I love grounding. Like for me, I could spend like hours like just laying on the ground, feet off, stand like walking around barefoot. So for me, like grounding is something that like, yeah, I love more than anything.
Yes, it's such a powerful practice, isn't it? You and I could probably talk all day about this, and it's been
Yeah.
incredible to have this conversation with you, and I'm so grateful that you're able to share all of your beautiful experiences.
Hmm.
Before we wrap up, Amira, I have one question for you.
Yeah.
And to
Ding, ding,
you,
ding.
what is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life to me is discovering why you are here. So, what is your dharma? What is your soul's purpose? Because I believe we've all come here for a reason. I didn't know my soul's purpose until I hit my lowest health point, left the corporate world, ended up in India, discovered Ayurveda, and then met this beautiful doctor. And I asked him, like, what happens when I heal all my digestive issues, thinking that maybe confetti would fall from the sky and there would be a parade? And he said, you will discover your dharma, because when you're so unhealthy, you forget to see the big picture. And the big picture is here, that you are here to live your best life. And you need to do that, once your health is under, you're just feeling a lot better. So for me, purpose of life is discovering why you're here.
I love that so much. Amayra, we will link to how people can get in touch with you via social media and your website and everything. We'll link to that in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time and energy and being such an incredible guest on the Enlighten podcast.
Thank you so much. But I think maybe like lately it's inspiring me maybe to hold like a retreat, maybe here in the Andes next year, like blending Ayurveda, yoga, and maybe plant medicine. So I'm not sure, like Wachuma or ayahuasca. So
I will be
that's
there.
something I'm kind of manifesting next year. So yeah, keep an
Let's
eye
make
out.
that happen. I would love to be there, and I will drag a bunch of listeners on with me. So if you're listening to this, let's go. Let's do it. Let's make this happen. Amara, you've been
Vamos.
amazing. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Oh.
Oh. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you love the Enlighten podcast, and the biggest compliment you can give me is subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, and leaving a rating and review. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial, and the podcast handle is Enlightened_podcast. You can also find the video version on YouTube on my channel. Just search Enlightened, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day and enjoy living the enlightened journey of life.